need this thing, but I may be getting a little too loud. Before it's over, you might want to kind of turn me down if you need to there, Conrad. Well, there's a lot to be told in a short period of time, I guess, for a 70-year-old man. But we'll back up, and I was born in Southern Illinois on a farm, and probably the only person in here that was born in a snowstorm, December the 12th, 1942, and the doctor rode a horse to our house to deliver a 10-pound baby. And I just kind of hung on to that for over 2 years. But no, in reality, we lived on the farm, spent a lot of years on the farm. But when I started school, I went to a two-room school, and there was like 5 grades in one room and 3 grades in the other room. And then the time I got into the 6th grade, we really stepped up in the world. We added a room. So we had 3 rooms instead of 2. And then they kind of broke down the grades a little bit more. And 7th and 8th grade was in another building, all attached, but it was in another building. But this was kind of the beginning. Went to the country school, and when we were in grade school, there was this little gal that I kind of liked her. They called her Shorty. That was her nickname in school. And I guess you'd call it puppy love at that time. But then she up and moved away from me. I was kind of heartbroken because she moved, went to another school. But then later on in high school, we kind of managed to get back together again. And we dated all through high school. And so we decided after we got out of high school that we wanted to get married. And I wasn't 21 yet. State of Illinois, you had to be 21. So you had to get a parent to sign for you. So I had to talk to Dad about signing for me. And she wasn't 18 yet either. She was 17, and she was 18 about a month after we were married, but she was 17, so we had to drag our dads up to the courthouse to get our marriage license. Got up there, and Dad said, "I don't know if I want to go through this." She almost panicked. But yes, we spent all through high school together, and well, part of grade school. So it's actually, of course, we just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary, and in reality, it's probably been closer to almost 55, 56 years that our lives have been together somewhere along the way. About 3 years after we were married, we had a son, Brian, and was a good, healthy child, and we were blessed with a new child and a family, and we thank God for that. We attended First Christian Church in Evansville. That's where we was living at the time that Brian was born. That's where we moved. And so we spent, everybody thought we had to get married, so we just blew their minds when it was about 3 years before we ever had a son. That was the longest gestation period you ever saw. But anyway, we lived in Evansville and went to First Christian Church there in Evansville. Had a minister, awesome guy, Paul Norris, that was started out. And about 2 years later, we found out Linda was pregnant again. And so I don't remember exactly how long. My statistician, I'll have to get her involved. After she got pregnant, she started having problems. That was probably about 6 months along, somewhere in that range, and she started having problems with the baby, and so we went to the doctor one day, and he checked her out and said, "Well, you're doing all right." Said, "Go on back home, kind of take it easy." And so about that afternoon or the next day, I don't remember exactly, that afternoon, she went into labor. Water broke, and so she went into labor, and it wasn't comical, but it was comical. We only lived probably about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the hospital. And we lived in an upstairs apartment, and Linda said, "Ain't no way I get down the stairs." So we called the ambulance, and they come in, they come up these 2 flights of stairs, and they looked at her, and they looked at each other, and they said, "How are we going to get her downstairs?" But anyway, there was a lawn chair sitting there, and they grabbed the lawn chair, and they said, "Set her in this, and we'll take her downstairs." So they did. And I hopped in the ambulance with them, because we went that far from the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, that one guy says, "We made that one." Well, the baby was being born. And they said, we went into the emergency room, and they said, "You go on in and check her in the hospital. We'll take her up to delivery." And I went in and checked her, went down and checked her in, and went up there, and they said, "Congratulations, you got a son." That was within about less than an hour. And Brad was preemie. Matter of fact, I got up there in time to carry him back from the delivery room, and actually I carried him right there. Legs hanging off here, and arms here, and his head laying on fingers. And he was small, but he was developed, fingernails, toenails. And they said, "Well, he has breathed before he was born." And so he's going to have a tough way to go. Anyway, they said you can get 12 hours plus, you can get through 36 hours as a plus, and we can get through 72 hours as a plus. But you want to make it. But in the meantime, they had to put him on 100% oxygen because of the infection. He breathed mucus in his lungs, and the lungs were deteriorating because of the infection. So he lived through for 12 hours, and we thought, well, that's good. And then he made it through 36 hours, and we started beginning to get a little hope. And unfortunately, he didn't make it through the 72 hours. So that was a pretty difficult time for us. And it was the time that we kind of had difficulty even as a husband and wife. Going through that traumatic experience. And, but you know, the Lord was very discreet. That was just one of our valleys that we she was a little girl, Brenda, matter of fact, and she, what's the weight? A little over 4 pounds. She was premature when she was delivered, and actually they said that the little girls have a better chance of surviving preemie than the boys do. And, well, she stayed in the hospital for a little while, but she bounced back, and now I've got a healthy daughter with 2 kids of her own. But after that, we decided we wanted to have one more. We was a little bit antsy about it, but well, we got through the third one okay. And so we wanted to try again. And so it was kind of the same old practice. And we got about 6 months along and started having problems again. So we had to sing old song and dance again. Just continued to pray about it. Well, lo and behold, Bethany decided to come early too. And so she turned out to be 412. And she did well, stayed in the hospital for a little excess time. I might also say that whenever, of course, we went through losing Brad, and we only lived 2 miles from the hospital. And when Linda got pregnant with Brenda, we weren't too far away from the hospital then. But then Bethany, we had about an hour and 15-20 minute drive to get to the hospital. So we were just a little bit antsy on that one. And but the Lord meant for us to have Bethany, and she was 5 years younger than Brenda was. And so we made it to the hospital. She was born a preemie, and she come through that very well. And she now has 2 children of her own as well. All through this, it was difficult for us, but during that time frame, we were there in Evansville, and Paul and I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, the 2 of them, kind of helped us get through the difficult time. God was there. All we had to do is just lean on Him and deal with difficult times. But I might just say that there's a lot of things in our lives that we're thankful for. I'm very thankful that all my kids are baptized Christians. And I've got all my grandkids, a couple that have baptized Christians. Whether that's my accomplishment or not, I don't think it is. I think it's God's. But He has made it possible. One thing I forgot to mention, I was going back at that when I decided to become a Christian, my mother was the backbone of my Christian life. She was raised in a Christian church, and whenever I was raised, primarily in younger days up till about high school, I went to the Methodist church for several years, but Mom was very adamant about her Christian belief, and whenever I decided to accept Christ at about 14, she wanted to make sure I was baptized by immersion. Well, I accepted Christ in the winter months. Fortunately, they decided, we didn't have baptistries in the church back then, I'll tell you that. And fortunately, we waited until spring, and there was about 3 of us that was baptized in the pond. And it was difficult. But it's stuck. so many ways, it's almost impossible to mention everything that he has done for us over the years. And he's always there, no matter what. No matter how difficult our times might be, no matter how difficult our lives become, whatever problems that we might have, he's always there. And you know, over the years, I've learned to trust him a whole lot more. A whole lot more. And of course, about 1969, I lost a brother in Vietnam. Went down in a plane crash. He'd been over there a very short period of time, and was in a reconnaissance plane. And somebody before he left made mention that, come home quick. He said, no, I don't want to come home quick. Well, he didn't come home quick. Matter of fact, he's never come home. But the plane went down on the mountainside in the fall. And it was actually about 8.5 years before he was actively reclassified. And that was a very difficult time. Difficult time for the whole family. I always said Kenneth was Dad's favorite son, and that wasn't true, because I was treated very well as a son, and I was never, I thought it was sometimes, I was never mistreated by any means other than with a good old paddle or a stick, and that didn't hurt me at all. I thought so, but it didn't hurt me at all. But that was a difficult time, and the Lord carried us through that one. And that was, we weren't sure exactly, but I think we read around 69. And well, that was a time when God carried us through in our lives. And then everything was going pretty smooth. And I've told this story a number of times. Because I always say, the Lord wasn't finished with me yet. And I got a hernia. As a matter of fact, I got a hernia in this church, moving our piano. And it never did really bother me too much. And I lived with it. I mean, never really noticed it too much over the years in the groin area. And I was around 5-6 years later. All of a sudden, just like that, you need to get that checked. And so I set me up an appointment and went to the doctor. And it was prepping for me to have surgery to repair my hernia. And doctor come in and he says, I think you need to see this other doctor. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, I just think you need to see this other doctor. I said, you need to make an appointment. And I would do it rather quickly. Well, this gives you all kinds of thoughts in your mind. And so I made an appointment before I left. A very short period of time I was back and sit down with Dr. Cordray, and he says, your PSA is a little high. I said, a little high? What do you mean? Number one, I've never heard of PSA before that. But anyway, he said, your PSA is about 11.9, and he said, we don't want to go to 4. And he said, we need to do something. He said, give me the options. Of course, that puts you in shock when they tell you you've got cancer. And that's pretty much what it was, and we kind of both went in shock, and we talked about it. There were 3 options. We could watch it, which a little too far for that. But they could seat it, or they could operate. So Linda and I discussed it, and she said, I think I'd just soon have you around. So we decided to go ahead with the surgery, and I had the surgery, and when I come back from surgery, he came in and he says, we caught it just in time. He said it was the outside walls of the prostate, and he said it would spread in a short period of time. And I said, well, what about treatments? He said, we won't have to have any treatments. And again, it was God that told me, it's time to have everything checked. So within about 30 to 45 days, I went back and had my hernia fixed. But again, God told me, you need to go get checked, or go get that hernia checked, and that's how I found my cancer. So I know good well, God was not finished with it for me yet, and I just went back and had my PSA check again at 0, which is 81. 81 can't just get any better than that. And so the cancer has not come back. It's been about 6 years, 6.5, 7 years now, close to 7. And so God has taken care of me again. I'm still got good help, and I give him praise and thanks for that. Why do I love him? Because he's always there. He's always there. And also, why I love him? And it's a very familiar verse to you. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. And also, they therefore cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate said to them, shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, we have no king but Caesar. So he then delivered him to them to be crucified. They took Jesus, therefore, and he went out, bearing his own cross, to the place called the place of the skull, which is called in Hebrew Golgotha. There they crucified him. It is interesting. We were there a few years ago, and the side of that hill looks like a skull, and it's still there yet today. Somewhat deteriorated, but you can see the skull on the side of that hill. The little skull. Yes, we've done a lot of the over the years, and yes, I've been blessed. Linda and I have been blessed. We've been blessed for 50 years together. I've 7 grandchildren, blessed with them. And one thing that I did forget to kind of mention was that it was interesting that there was a kind of a trend in our family, and especially the Cunningham side of the family, that each generation was losing a son. And we did the same. My sister did. And thank goodness it has stopped. None of my family lost any children, and I think the Lord's right. I better quit. It's past time. stretch 50